I've been kind of nervous making this video, but something cool happened on the last video that honestly made my day. I got my very first comment on the channel, and I know it might sound cheesy, but seeing someone actually take the time to drop a comment, it just meant a lot. So if you're watching this, thanks for being here at the very start. Hopefully, you'll get to see this little channel grow into something. Alright, so right now I'm still inside the Woodland Mansion, keeping an eye out for Vindicators. I've been barricading myself in by placing blocks all around me, just making sure I stay safe while I heal up. And while I'm still exploring down here, I've got some crazy Reddit revenge stories lined up for a change. Thought it would be cool to mix it up a little and pull from different corners of Reddit. I might even branch out later into horror, mystery, workplace drama, stuff like that. Actually, I'd love your suggestions on what you'd want to hear. So yeah, for today I've gathered some wild revenge stories from the subreddit r/pettyrevenge. So just play this in the background, get cozy, maybe throw a blanket on if you're in bed, and listen in. Alright. The first story says, former boss disputed work history 6 months after I left, so I blew up his phone with spam. A few years ago, I was working at a corporate job and had a very significant death in the family, my grandfather, that I needed to take time off to go handle. I needed to help with the estate and honestly just grieve. We were very, very close. I asked my manager to use emergency PTO and it was denied. I asked to go on FMLA instead and it was also denied, saying that grandparents didn't qualify. I told him I wouldn't be able to come in for at least a couple of weeks while I flew down to Florida to attend the funeral and help with the estate. They told me if I did that, I would be terminated. So they terminated me and even had the gall to offer me 2 weeks of severance in exchange for signing an NDA, a gag order, and an indemnity clause. Which means I wouldn't be able to sue them, I wouldn't be able to talk smack about them to others or online. You get the idea. Of course, I refused. That conversation took place on August 1st. On my LinkedIn profile, I listed that I worked there from my start date to the beginning of August. The company dated my termination for 31 July. They said they had to do with benefits or something. Fast forward to January. I was up early with my 6-week-old newborn. I got a LinkedIn notification that my former manager viewed my profile. A few minutes later, I got an email from LinkedIn that my employment at that company was being disputed. He disputed the difference between 31 July and 1st August. LinkedIn ignored my dispute of the report and removed the company experience from my profile entirely. Not to mention that when I did repost the experience, it would no longer be verified by LinkedIn because I would have to verify through a company email address, which I no longer had. The absolute gall of this guy. And seriously, you're thinking about me 6, almost 7 months later? So I found his home address online. I had his personal cell phone number in my phone, and I also found his personal and work email address. I signed him up for as much spam as I possibly could find. Not just that, I went to every moving company and real estate agency in the area asking to be put in contact with an agent saying that I was looking for a house for $800,000 and moving companies to give quotes for a cross-country move. I gave those websites every contact information I had for him, something that would really excite anyone getting that kind of sales lead. A former coworker in the same department told me that his phone was blowing up for days, both his work and personal cell. His role was client-facing, so he couldn't just ignore phone calls. I don't know if he ever figured out that it was me who did that, but those calls would have started pouring in within an hour of his report to LinkedIn. Screw that guy.
Oh, man, that's... Wow, 6 months later. 6 months. And this man is still thinking about you? Bro, move on. You're not an ex. You're an employee he fired. That's creepy. Oh no, the LinkedIn says August 1st instead of July 31st. Like, bro, who even cares? Nobody's sitting there like, I was gonna hire this person, but that one extra day is suspicious. And the NDA thing, offering severance just to keep you quiet, that's straight up cartoon villain energy, like twirling his mustache while pushing papers across the desk. and the way OP clapped back. Signing him up for all those spam calls? It's so dumb, but it's perfect. And honestly, that's peak petty revenge. Oh man, this actually reminded me of something pretty similar that happened to me a few years back. I was freelancing then, and one of my clients just straight up scammed me, blocked me without even clearing my dues. Honestly, I was really strapped for money at the time. I won't go into much details, but yeah, he was a complete piece of work.
At first, I tried everything, reaching out politely, asking him to clear my payment. Instead, he just blocked me everywhere. That's when it hit me. And for a second, I even considered spamming his number with one of those online call bomber services, but nah, I let that thought go. Instead, I messaged him from a different number on WhatsApp, telling him I'd be submitting proof of work and filing a copyright strike. At first, he just laughed it off like I was bluffing. But then, I sent him the screenshots. And oh boy, the guy panicked instantly, begging me not to go through with it. Let's just say I got my dues cleared real quick after that. I completely understand what OP must have gone through. And honestly, that's justice. If someone can treat you that heartlessly during your lowest moment, they deserve every single fake call. What gets me is, this is all avoidable. Like the boss could have just not done that. Could have lived their life, enjoyed their weekend, but instead they invited chaos right into their own inbox. That's kind of poetic, honestly. Okay, quick update on the game. I'm leaping straight at the evoker and taking him out as fast as I can. Gotta get him down before he spawns any vexes, otherwise it turns into complete chaos in here. Moving on to the second revenge story of today, it reads, "Scammed for $20, so I ruined her week." A few years ago, I, female, freshly 18, was looking for a lash kit. Found a seller on Facebook Market with a beauty professional page. The page was kinda dead, no posts, very few followers, but old and used her real, very unique name, which felt reassuring. She said she had just one kit and wasn't a regular seller. I asked why. She said she bought it for a class she missed, so now was reselling. Fair enough. I asked 3 more times if the kit was brand new. She swore it was. We met at a mall. I was running errands, hands full, so I trusted her and didn't check the kit. Dumb move. Got home. Some pieces were dirty, others missing. I was shocked, but mostly offended about being scammed by such a dumb, lazy person. Like, for fuck's sake, at least try. Clean your shit and make it look new so no one finds out. I told myself it was just $20 to forget about it, but I couldn't because it wasn't about the money. It was about being evil, lying, and not even being able to do so with care. Someone could have bought her stupid used kit, but no, she had to go full sleaze bag. I started digging the likes and followers from the page from where she had sold me the kit, found her real profile, and saved it. I messaged her page with photos of the dirty, missing stuff, still hoping this was a dumb mix-up. She hit me with, no, it's new, without bothering to address the literal proof I sent, and then blocked me. Cool. Now I don't feel bad for what I'm about to do. I'm very good at stalking. It's a skill I try not to use because I tend to go into rabbit holes and it's unhealthy, but now, I started from her personal profile that I had saved. I even found out the husband had a kid from a previous marriage who went NC, and I think I know why, because comparing the dates his and the scammer's kids were born and the date he got divorced from his first wife, the math wasn't mathing. The next day I commented on screenshots of our convo under her closest relatives' posts. Is X your family member? She scammed me for 20 sad bucks. Are these the family values? I needed her to know I wasn't playing because then I messaged her real profile like, "Hi, remember me, the girl you scammed?" Apparently she was a cosmetologist, so I dragged her to sell a dirty kit, knowing these substances go near the eye and that could go so badly. I said if she didn't return the money, I'd blast her info everywhere. Her 5 Facebook profiles, 3 Instagram accounts. Yeah, she had that many. Her and her husband's IDs, phone numbers, car model, license plate, taxpayer numbers, workplaces, names of closest relatives, you name it. On every Facebook group she used for business, she did this a lot, and would send it to the guy's ex and stepkid too. She called me immediately, nervous, still denying everything, and begged me to meet and fix it. Her husband sent angry voice notes threatening to sue. Yeah, right, over $20. I agreed to meet the scammer again the next day. She showed up late, brought some angry teen girl, niece maybe, looking daggers at me, and a huge muscular dude who I thought was supposed to intimidate me but was actually the nicest. I got my money, deleted the comments, blocked her 5 profiles, and peaced out. Justice served. All that. Over $20. 20! And somehow it's still one of the most satisfying revenge stories I've heard. Love it. Honestly, this story is petty revenge on point. Like it's not over the top, just the right level of, oh wow, she really did that. And the part about the husband sending angry voice notes threatening to sue. Over $20? I can't take that seriously. Bro, imagine going to court and the judge is like, so you're suing because you scammed someone and got called out? Case dismissed. Ooh. I'm kind of impressed the scammer actually agreed to meet again. Like she fell for that pitch twice. That's either bravery or literal stupidity, or maybe she's a glutton for chaos. But you know, it does kind of make me wonder, is two wrongs making it right, or just two petty people in a cartoon? Either way, I'm entertained. At the end of the day, $20 is small, but that confidence to go full petty revenge, that's big. And sometimes you gotta take your power back, even if it's just by messing with cereal bags or maybe leaving glitter in her car. I'm here for it. Alright, moving on to third story of ours. It reads,
X cheated on me, asked for updates on our dog.
my friend told me I should post this here, so here I am, lol. So my F25 ex-fiance, M27 of 7 years, recently dumped me for a younger woman, F21, that he met on TikTok. To make a long story short, I had suspicions about his infidelity since January this year, but every time I raised concerns, I'd get hit with the good old, "Don't worry, babe, she's just my best friend." Well, turns out I was right, and the very same day we called our relationship off, due to unrelated issues, he's posting on social media about how much he loves his new girl. Last week he met her in real for the first time and moved her like 6 states away into his dad's house. Keep in mind, we've been broken up for exactly a month today. Anyway, we had a dog together, Rosie. The house we were living in together is mine, so I decided to keep her here with me since I had more stability and she's best friends with my roommate's dogs. He agreed that she'd probably be better off with me and only asked that I send him pictures of her and keep him updated on how she's doing. I said, sure, I'll email you some photos every few months. So every day since then, whenever I let Rosie out into the yard, I'll take pictures of her pooping to send to my ex. I've gotten all different angles, a couple of videos, the whole 9 yards. In a couple months, he'll have an inbox full of our shitting dog to remind him of just what exactly I think about him.
Oh, this one is petty sick. He cheated on her and then had the audacity to ask how their dog is doing. That's next level tone deaf. Like, dude, you didn't even stick around and now you want updates of the dog? That's beyond petty. And she's all, sure, I'll email you in a few months, but instead she sends him pooping pictures every single day. I mean, that's dedication to the petty cause. That's the kind of revenge that makes me say goals. Let's be real, keeping Rosie was the right move. Stability, roommates, pups, all that. But using poop pictures as petty currency? Genius. But in all seriousness, you get to move on, Rosie gets belly rubs, and you get little laughs every time that inbox pings with dog business. Honestly, that's petty revenge done right. Alright, so the fourth revenge story says, a boy harassed me, so I spoiled his favorite film series. This was in 2019 when the hype for Marvel's Endgame was in full swing. I was in high school, 13 and 14, and for some reason this kid was obsessed with me. Like from the very start, he decided to constantly annoy me.
He'd written a song about me cheating on him. We never dated, and had followed me around the corridors telling me I had a nice arse. We lived in the same area of town, and he once followed me home saying he was going to make me wet. Tried telling the school, but they said he probably had a crush on me, and to ignore him. This kid loved Marvel, especially Iron Man. Like fucking obsessed. Themed backpack, a pencil case, the lot. When he wasn't harassing me, it was talking about Iron Man. He got ill the same week Endgame was released, and was off school a few days. A few of my friends had seen it that weekend, and since I wasn't interested, they spoiled it for me, and told me Iron Man died at the end. The kid came in the next day after being ill, and started harassing me again. I knew he hadn't seen Endgame yet, and to be honest, I just wanted him to shut up, but I was a really quiet kid who never retaliated. So I told him Iron Man died in Endgame. I know it's bad to spoil things on the premise you're not interested in that thing, but he was fully stunned. That look on his face was brilliant. Oh my gosh. Okay. First of all, this boy was literally writing breakup songs for a relationship that didn't exist. That's I don't even know if that's creepy or just tragically embarrassing. And
and the school saying, he probably just has a crush. Like, really? No, that's not a crush, that's harassment. But you know what? The way OP clapped back, spoiling Endgame, that's chef's kiss. That's like hitting him right where it hurts most. And you know he had been waiting for that movie for like years. Posters, merch, all of it. And then bam, you drop the Iron Man bomb. Legendary. I can just picture his face going pale, like instant heartbreak. Forget you, he's grieving Tony Stark now. So yeah, I'd say that's not just petty revenge, that's cinematic justice. Iron Man would be proud.
Quick update on the game. A creeper just blew a hole in the wall, so I'm patching it up. I'm using color-coordinated blocks, so it looks like it did before. Just crafted some dark oak planks from logs, and I'm using those here to repair it.
Alright, let's move on to the next story while I keep digging around down here. It reads,
I took a gamble and made a bot spend $170 more on a Jeep Wrangler wagon than its original MSRP. I found a local online auction house for my area about a week ago and it got me addicted. A few days ago, I came across this $600 Jeep Wrangler wagon to carry my kids around in. Bidding started at $5, so I bid it and waited. Over the next couple of days, the bidding kept going up, but I kept seeing this one user bid 75 cents over my bid the second I sent mine in. After the total came to about $90, the user was still ahead. I sat on it for a few hours, came back and saw that user was still at the top. I really didn't wanna, but I tossed up $150 and saw that the next one was sitting at $150.75 right after me. I ended up bidding more and more until eventually it hit the last 5 minutes and I got it up to around $770, and the bot still had it at $770.75. The bot ended up winning the auction. Now I don't know if that user is going to actually pick it up or not because the auction site uses automatic payments, with payments being final. On top of the auction price, there is a 20% fee of the total win price to include state tax. I'm glad I gambled and it paid off because otherwise it would have been me who'd have to pay all that for the item. Because after 20% auction fee and sales tax, it probably would have been closer to $1,000. May not have gotten the wagon, but at least I was able to beat someone to spend more money on something. I don't know if this is considered petty revenge, but it was pretty petty in my opinion.
Okay. This story seems like some digital revenge, right? I just love the idea of you sitting there bidding and this bot instantly pops up with like 75 cents more, please. It's like having the most annoying little brother in the world, but automated. $770 plus fees on a wagon. That's like turning a kid hauler into a luxury purchase. Imagine explaining that one to your spouse. Honey, I don't know why the Jeep wagon cost $1,000. The internet just hates me. So yeah, maybe it's not traditional revenge, but petty, absolutely. It's digital age petty and oh so sweet knowing someone else footed the bill. That's kind of genius. Alright, so moving on to the next story. This one's kind of wild. It reads, demoted myself and left him stranded. I worked at a company a few years back and had an amazing manager. He was efficient, supportive to everyone, and all-round decent. But due to him being so good, the company wanted to move him to a store to help pick that place back up. Just before he was due to leave and a new manager started, I had to have a week off due to surgery and so missed the introductions. And he seemed to have an issue with this. I came in on my day off to hand in my sick note and meet the guy, and he was cold and extremely lazy. We were customer facing and sometimes needed manager approval, but he would just sit there staring at the security cameras at his desk and ignore the manager bell. He would find the longest jobs and make them longer. A 30-minute stock check took him one whole 8-hour shift, for example. Turns out he was also a massive perv, too. I could write a long list, but I'll give highlights. He would walk past deep breathing in my ears, would talk down about women. My favorite quote from him was when asked to do a job I shouldn't be doing, he said, "Why get a dog and bark yourself?" That's when I lost it. What he didn't realize is I had recently been promoted a week before his arrival, and it granted very little pay rise and also had a 6-month probation automatically applied. So I went home and wrote out a demotion resignation letter explaining how I was stepping down from my current role and going back to my previous role of 4 years, effective immediately. I was the key holder for that night alone with one other staff member. As it was effective immediately, a senior member had to suddenly stay and do all my duties. Guess who? He also had to rearrange the next 2 weeks' rota and work triple the hours to fill my role.
I also spoke to the regional manager that week and asked to be moved to another store, and if he refused, I would go to the police for sexual harassment, and I had a long list and we had cameras. I was moved a week later. Edited to add, he was fired as he was caught having sex in the customer toilets. Also, I didn't go to the police as the police wouldn't have taken it seriously. I was already refused to be heard on a rape case. They would have laughed me out of the station for sexual harassment case.
Oh, wow. This guy went from lazy to creepy in record time. Like, breathing in your ear, that's not flirty. That's literally nightmare fuel. And, of course, the classic, why get a dog and bark yourself? Sir, you are not a CEO in the 1800s. You are literally doing a stock check. Relax. But the way you handled it? Genius. You basically just noped out of your promotion and left him drowning in extra shifts. That's the kind of petty I aspire to. He thought he had you trapped, but instead he ended up babysitting your old role, rearranging schedules, and working triple hours. Like, congratulations, you played yourself. And then him getting fired for having sex in the customer toilets? I mean, how do these people not realize there are literally cameras everywhere? Honestly, you got out, you kept your dignity, and you let karma do the rest. Alright, moving on to the next story, it reads,
Don't be a rude eBay seller. So I sell on eBay and sometimes buy in bulk to flip. Recently, I spotted a listing for a bunch of TI Nspire calculators marked as school property. They were listed for parts only with the condition, turns on but needs additional equipment. I've sold a lot of calculators, and usually if they turn on, they're fine. So I sent the seller a polite message asking why extra equipment was needed. His response? Just for you to ask to show your intelligence. LOL. Bored? Completely unprovoked. I told him I wasn't being rude, just curious, and he doubled down. If you were smart enough to read the description, you wouldn't ask anything. I'm not entitled to educate you. Then said he's just going to block me so he doesn't waste his time. Normally, I'd roll my eyes and move on, but I didn't for this seller. I looked at his negative reviews, and apparently he does this to everyone and is very racist about it. There's even a negative feedback complaining he canceled an order before shipping, and he replied it was because he was a Honduras scammer or something like that and makes fun of people who speak Spanglish. So I dig, and I find that his listing description has his phone number. I Google that phone number and find that he runs another eBay store under a company name that claims to do electronics recycling and refurbishing, selling different inventory of high-ticket medical devices like electrotherapy units, ultrasound heads, laser therapy applicators, the kind that requires FDA 510K clearance and can't be legally sold to the general public without proper authoritative. eBay has an entire policy banning these, unless you're an approved medical seller, so I spent some time compiling a list of his priciest, clearest violations. I cross-checked them with the FDA's device classification database and matched them to eBay's medical devices and accessories restricted list. Then I reported them all through eBay's item not allowed category, attaching the exact model names and classification codes. Fast forward to this morning, eBay emails me to say 6 of his most expensive listings are gone, including multiple $2,000 plus medical therapy devices, electrotherapy systems, and vital accessory packs. They even removed some for parts only listings, which eBay still bans if they're restricted devices. In fact, the total amount for the listings removed came out to be $13,590. I'm not saying I sank his store, but I probably ruined his week. Moral of the story, if you're going to be smug and block people for asking questions, make sure your business model can survive someone actually reading the rules. Edit. I actually missed a listing. The total is $18,140.
Gosh, this started with calculators and ended with FDA takedowns? That escalated real fast. Just for you to ask to show your intelligence, LOL. Bro, what? What? Like, imagine being so miserable that answering a simple question feels like a personal attack. You could have just said, oh, it doesn't work without the charger, done, but nah, you had to write a whole essay about how smart you are. And then my favorite part, OP just goes full revenge arc. You know how in movies they say, don't poke the quiet ones? Yeah, this is why. Man thought he was blocking a nosy buyer, but instead, he blocked his own eBay career.
Like, dude was out here illegally flipping medical devices on eBay, electrotherapy, ultrasound heads, FDA clearance type of stuff, and he got exposed because he couldn't resist being a sarcastic jerk in the DMs. If Karma had a LinkedIn profile, this would be the case study. Honestly, beautiful. eBay rules are one thing, but disrespect, that's what really got him nuked. Moral of the story, be nice to people, or at least don't leave your illegal side hustle one Google search away.
Quick update on the game. I've been making new doorways by opening up walls. To keep them matching with the original ones, I used inverted stair blocks so they look just like the existing doorways.
Alright, moving on to the last story for today. It reads,
Neighbor who's very artistic by nature getting a sudden eviction because the landlord's daughter wants the house with the art inside. What art? There was a house in our area that was known for having really cool murals inside done by the previous tenant. Outside was pretty tame. She has a pre-built facade to make the house look like a cottage. Inside, all hand-done murals of Disney movies and fairy tales. The lady was an art teacher when she was younger, and later she started one of those paint with wine type businesses, which she did well before fully retiring to just doing paint commissions and furniture decorating. She's always been nice to everyone, even when I've been an ass to her when she complained about the truck being loud or speeding. We worked that out and have been friends since. She had an agreement with the original landlord about the art since it wasn't outside, it wasn't going to be a problem. She's been living in that house since the mid-80s with promises of getting the house in time. Unfortunately, he passed before anything was signed and legitimized, and his kids took over. One of the sons visited the house to inspect it with his daughter, and apparently they fell in love and wanted the art house for his daughter. My neighbor didn't have a lease, which made the fight harder, and they used the art on the walls as an excuse to kick her out. She was devastated, but she was able to buy a property that fits her needs at the last minute in another state that had a full art studio area on the first floor. She originally wanted to leave the house as is without the cottage-looking front, but my friend offered to restore the house to Rebecca standards for free since he needed to figure out how to use powered paint sprayers. He also had a friend that did landscaping to help her with the front of the house. She agreed, and we moved all her furniture out to storage units, and my friend let her stay in his guest house free of charge if she did a mural on the living room wall. She had the house cleaned out in a week. In the second week, they buffed all the walls with sanders. All the murals from the front to back were gone. It just looked like blotches of colors. My friend, being the ever-diligent painter that he is, masked anything that wasn't painted and sprayed Kills primer everywhere with his new toy sprayer. This thing was pretty badass. You can spray a whole wall in 4 passes. After the paint dried, he used his Rebecca collection of colors to essentially kill the character of the house. Rebecca condition is what we call flipper houses. It's always the same fucking colors. White with grays, all over the house, and the shitty dark tone pergo flooring. The floors were tile, so he left it alone, but the walls were white semi-gloss. The wood paneling walls, trim, switch covers, outlet covers, counters, and cabinets were sprayed in the most depressing shade of gray. The house looked dead inside when I went in to check it out. It was weird not seeing all the murals. The front of the house was the last project she agreed to give his landscaping friend the bushes in exchange for the labor of removing the cottage facade without breaking it. The landscaper basically ripped everything out and just dumped gravel and sand with a boulder for decoration. This weekend, I went to fix some problems at an old neighbor's house and noticed the house was still empty and asked the neighbor if he had seen anyone move in. He said earlier in the week there were some U-Hauls there, but none of them were unloaded, and that was the last time they remember seeing anyone there. Bet that daughter was in for a surprise when she saw the house get turned into a basic hellhole.
Man, that was brutal. Like, honestly, that's one of the coldest revenge arcs I've ever heard. Imagine walking into a magical Disney fairy tale house, murals everywhere, color, warmth, and then walking back in a week later to find realtor beige, gray, white, depressing-ass laminate vibes. Like going from Disneyland to a tax office. And the best part, the landlords thought they were scoring some whimsical art palettes for their daughter. Like, ooh, she'll love this. It's so cute. It's so special. And then bam, you just get hit with 50 shades of Sherwin-Williams gray. Congratulations. You played yourself. I do feel bad for the art teacher, though. She lived there decades, poured herself into it, made it a home. to get booted just because the kid wanted murals, that sucks. But the way she flipped it into a win, bought a studio space, still painting, that's power. Meanwhile, the daughter probably opened that front door expecting a Disney princess vibe and got corporate dentist office chic. Like, welcome home, Cinderella, here's your IKEA starter pack. Moral of the story, don't mess with artists, man. They'll repaint your whole destiny, and not in the colors you wanted.
All right. If you made it all the way here, wow, thank you for hanging out with me this long. I really hope you enjoyed these revenge stories. And if you did, maybe consider hitting that like button or even subscribing so you can come back for the next one. No pressure though. I'm just glad you're here. But yeah, thank you again for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Okay. Bye for now.